यानंतर सोबतीचा इंग्रजी अनुवाद करणारे वरिष्ठ पत्रकार आणि लेखक राजू कोर्ती आपले अनुभव आता आपल्यासमोर मांडणार आहेत. मी त्यांना इथे बोलावते.
इथे उपस्थित असलेले सगळे मान्यवर, अर्थात इथले प्रमुख अतिथी अजून यायचे आहेत आपले नितीनजी गडकरी, ज्यांना मी त्यांच्या ABVPच्या कार्यकर्ते असल्यापासूनच्या दिवसापासून ओळखतो. श्री राघवेंद्रानंदजी, राहुल पांडे मुख्य माहिती आयुक्त, सुश्रुत कुलकर्णी, मला विवेक देशपांडे दिसत नाही आहेत पण ते असावेत कुठेतरी अशी अपेक्षा आहे माझी, प्रत्यक्षात त्यांची अजून भेट व्हायची आहे. तर आणि उपस्थित सगळे माझे बंधू भगिनी, खरं तर मी थोडा सुरुवातीला संभ्रमित होतो की आपण मराठीतून बोलावं की इंग्रजीतून, कारण की हे मूळ पुस्तक मराठीत आहे आणि त्याचा अनुवाद मी इंग्रजीत केला आहे. तो स्वयंस्फूर्त स्वतःच्या स्वेच्छेने केलेला आहे. त्यामुळे मला हे कळत नव्हतं, मी हे सुनिश्चित करू शकत नव्हतो की मी मराठीतून बोलावं की इंग्रजीतून आणि आपलं मनोगत कसं व्यक्त करावं. पण शेवटी एक निर्णय घेतला. तो कदाचित काही जणांना मुत्सद्दीपणाचा वाटत असेल किंवा औचित्याला धरून वाटत असेल, जे काय असेल, पण ते माझं मी ठरवलं की आभार प्रदर्शन करायचं की मला व्यासपीठावर इथे बोलावून 4 शब्द बोलायची संधी दिली आणि त्यांचं आभार प्रदर्शन मराठीत करायचं आणि माझं जे काही मनोगत आहे पुस्तकाबद्दल, माझे स्वतःचे काय अनुभव आहेत ते मांडायचे इंग्रजीतून. सो हिअर आय गो. आय जस्ट leave through my speech very quickly so as to cut time, because it's a bit a little more time consuming by the standards of someone who is going to express himself. So respected guests, friends, fellow travelers on this deeply human journey, good evening. Today is not merely the launch of a book. It is the unfolding of a quiet, powerful movement that is long overdue. A movement that speaks in hushed, caring tones rather than slogans. A movement called Sobati. Now, when I first read Sobati in Marathi, I found myself pausing after every few pages, not because the language was dense. After every pages, not because the language was dense. Not because the language was dense, it was not, but because the emotions were. The words were gentle, yet they struck chords that I didn't even know. They were waiting to be plucked. The idea that there is a place, a dignified, emotionally sensitive and practical place for a Sobati, whom we call as companions in the ecosystem of caregiving. It is so simple and yet so transformative. Now, this was not just a book, it was a mirror, a window, and in many ways a path. It moved me and moved me very deeply, not just as a reader, but as a human being. I realized I had to do something, and the only way I knew to contribute was to bring this movement message to a very wider audience. So I did that little that I could, which I call my squirrel's contribution, as the Ramayana analogy goes, by translating this work into English. Now, I must admit very candidly that this was not merely a linguistic exercise. Every chapter I worked on carried the warmth of hand held in pain, the silence between sigh and a sentence, the moments of despair and grace that caregivers and patients alike endure. The book is not a fiction. It is a life in its most fragile and most resilient form. And that is why this English version is not just translation. It is a bridge to reach more Sobtis, more companions, those who are already walking this path and those who are about to, knowingly, unknowingly, wittingly or unwittingly. It will, I sincerely believe, serve as a guide, a comfort and a gentle nudge in the right direction for countless people who are thrown into the vortex of caregiving without compass. At the heart of this book is a man, Chandrashekhar Welankar. To him, we owe more than we can express in mere words. He is someone who just did not document a noble cause. Here is someone who did not just document a noble cause, he lived it. He lived it while witnessing the long and painful illnesses of his beloved wife Varsha. To walk alongside suffering is by no means an easy task. It is very hard, but Chandrashekhar did it. And that too with grace, depth, and generosity of a spirit that is truly rare. Shekhar's very experience, whom I call him as, affectionately call as Shekhar Bahu, his experience is marked by the anguish of watching a loved one decline. It could have left him bitter or broken. Instead, it gave him the firm resolve to find meaning in pain and to create a handbook of sorts for others navigating the same storm. That to me is the heroism of very highest order. It also is heartening to see that the medical fraternity has not stood aloof. Many doctors, as mentioned in the book, have been not only cooperative but encouraging of the Sobati model. In a healthcare environment where empathy is often a casualty of efficiency, this is a hopeful sign, because this movement is not about replacing doctors or nurses. It is about adding a layer of human presence, a hand on the shoulder, a listening ear, a silent vigil in the corridor. Sometimes that is all it takes to ease the load, ease the pressure. As this book finds its way into more hands, I appeal to everyone here, all of you here and beyond, to take cognizance of what Sobati really represents. It is not a job or a profession, it is a calling. A quiet, everyday kind of heroism that plays out not on big screens, but in hospital rooms and some home corners with little fanfare and with tremendous impact. Let this not be a one-time event. Let this be the beginning, or better still, the continuation of a movement that we desperately need in our times. In a world increasingly noisy with self-interest, Sobati whispers a very different message, that care is not weakness, that presence is strength, and that dignity in illness is a right, is not a privilege. Thank you. Jai Sobati.